Welcome back to It Starts Now, the happy hour of finance and business. My name is Stanley, and I got my co-host Christine here with me. And we got somebody that's stopped by to really inform us of what's going on in his life. So, Keenan.
What's going on?
Welcome, sir.
Welcome
to It Starts Now.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad. Listen, there was a situation that happened yesterday. We were supposed to have you here, and then things just didn't work out, but we're glad that you were able to make it.
Stay out of Miami for everybody listening.
So, Keenan, introduce yourself and what you got going on.
Sure. So I am Kenan Williams. I'm an entrepreneur across a couple different verticals. So I'm co-founder of a real estate prop tech company called Rezi. We built software in New York City to enable anyone to lease an apartment from their phone in 5 minutes or less with no fees. Currently expanding that to Miami and a couple of the markets, LA, Chicago, and DC. I'm senior advisor to an incredible startup that I'm super excited about that you know well, Pavement.
Yeah. Shout out to Al, by the way.
Shout out to Alameen, phenomenal founder, Queens native. And reason why I'm here today. And Al is effectively creating software that helps make same-day delivery not just efficient, but accessible to all businesses. And I think he's going to change the world. I work with a media company in California that writes, sells scripts, and does production of film, shorts, TV shows, etc. More like a CIO, running their financials. I'm business management for two creatives, one out of LA, one out of New York, where I do all their contract negotiation and brand deals. And a phenomenal father, my most important job, of my son Gavin, who's 3.5 years old.
Well, congratulations, man.
That's me in a nutshell a little bit. Thank you, appreciate it.
Just a little bit?
Yeah, so you must have a lot of extra time on your
I left
hands.
some stuff out. No, you know what? I just really maximize it. I think I learned the efficiency is in executing.
Right.
And so as soon as something makes sense, I'll stop ideating and I'll push and let the market define if it's right or wrong. And so that's how I can juggle so much, is because I'm in constant motion of execution. And when it comes to game planning, it's like years out. So
when you say years out, like, break that down.
Yeah, so if one of my guys is shopping a script, that becoming television or that becoming on a streaming platform is 4 deals, 2 years, and probably 10 rewrites away. So instead of trying to focus on that piece of content solely as how do we get this produced, there's 10 other ways to monetize it. Is it going to be a partnership deal? Can we just sell it to a studio? Do we just get a development deal, let us get taken out, sell the equity and just take a cash out? Do we not take a cash out, take a piece of the equity and be a part of the project? Do we shop it as a mini series that's shot all 10 episodes and they upload it at once, or is it more episodic? The market will tell you what that should be. I think so. In a scenario like that, it's just really easy to say, okay, cool, let's write it and let's get it out. Or if a startup founder wants to raise a round, it's less about should I raise 500K or 750K or 800K. What do we absolutely need to last us for the next 12 to 18 months? Multiply that number by 2. Go. Let's go raise that. And so I kind of operate like that in bulk, even down to my son. If he's like, Dad, I want to wear pajamas today. Cool, we're wearing pajamas. Right? Like there's no reason for me to go back and forth with you if you want to wear pajamas, or Dad, I want to wear 1 blue and 1 red shoe. Cool. Like why would I give that brain power? Why do I have to stress out, or I have to make it a dialogue with your mom or you? That's what you want to do. Let's go. Yeah. You'll come back and tell me if that was the right decision or not. And so from fatherhood to finance, I operate in the same way. So that's how I maximize my time. That's how I can do so many things and work in so many spaces.
Well, interestingly enough, we're the name of this podcast is It Starts Now, and you pretty much are like our ideal guest because he says he doesn't he doesn't spend too much time on the idea. And a lot of times people have a lot of ideas, but who's actually going to go forward and who's going to actually move on this idea? And you can't get to the next step unless you do the first thing, right? So I think that's really great, an example of, how do you actually end up doing what you want to do? And it's usually you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Or you have to just start somewhere. You just have to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I think you pretty much, like, in what you just said, just encompasses everything we're trying to communicate, to our listeners. So thank you for coming.
Plus never. It's okay if I curse?
Yeah, go ahead.
Plus, never really giving a fuck if you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
that's, I think, to execute is 50%. To have no fucks given is the other 50. And they both have to have equal standing to make sense and work. Because the minute you start to execute and you start to test and the market starts to give you feedback, if you're insecure or if you care about opinions or if you think it should look a certain way, then you're going to make the wrong decisions on how to, pivot, or you're going to ideate on it too much, or you're going to stay in your head, or you're just going to be unsatisfied constantly. And so that's
you'll
the
start
part.
questioning yourself.
But to a degree, that's unhealthy.
Healthy, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's always good to do the right shoulder, left shoulder dance in terms of like what's right, what's wrong.
We talked about that earlier when we were talking about sometimes we have to have conversations with ourselves, right?
Oh yeah.
And
it's everything.
It is everything.
really is.
But I think for a lot of people, that conversation starts with the outside world, rather than having that conversation start from within.
That's the flip.
That's the flip that the people don't get. So you can execute to your point, but then you still have to have that mindset to say, listen, I need to believe in this, even if I have to self-talk myself into it. I'm gonna do it.
You don't believe it for anyone else does.
Nobody else does. Exactly. Is that the mindset that you had moving forward to starting the rental thing? Because your thing is like, can I say it's like Speed Easy? What is it again? Street Easy. Is it something like that?
No, just think of it like, can you rent an apartment as fast as you call an Uber? Think of it like that.
But I think there was an application. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I read that you can also pay through that same app, right?
Yeah. So the platform is if you are a tenant. So you'll go see a unit online, book an appointment through our platform, show up, self-showing, just walk into the apartment, get the keys from the key lock, because we'll give you code access. You like the apartment while you're inside, pull up your phone, and immediately go through the application steps. It's only 6 of them, ish. And you'll get immediate yes, no. And if it's yes, it's a temporary yes. You'll start to put up some additional materials. But if it's a no, we'll tell you exactly why it's a no. Either way, you have the opportunity to add more information, and then you'll have a guaranteed answer by the time you walk out that apartment, if it's yours or not.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
That's
Now,
it.
what got you into that? Like,
My career has been in commercial real estate finance. So ever since I graduated from undergrad, my job has been really professionally in commercial real estate. In college, I did a ton of internships on Wall Street. When I very first graduated, the initial job was at a small debt bond shop. But the 99% of my entire career has been in commercial real estate. So I love commercial real estate and buildings. It's probably why that walk from the train was easy for me, because all I was doing was looking at the real estate.
oh, that's dope.
Yeah, the retail, the mixed use, the warehouse, the repurposed, the construction sites, the new restaurants, all that.
Do you have an eyeball for that? Can you scope out?
No, I have a passion for it.
Okay.
Like, I know what's the ballroom that's around the corner? It's the famous ballroom, the Melrose Ballroom. The Melrose?
Yeah. Melrose? Oh, okay.
So, like, coming to New York City in my 20s, right after college, listening to Hot 97, all I ever used to hear was Funk Flex talk about what was happening at Melrose, or who was performing. And I walked past it, it was like, oh shit, like, oh my God, how many square feet is that? 70,000 square feet?
Just to say.
So yeah, no, so I can eyeball it. Like yesterday in Miami, I had a meeting with a wealthy New York real estate developer at his Miami house. And he's like, let me give you a tour. And it's under construction, so it's all poured concrete. It's nothing but raw concrete. And I'm like, is that 40-foot ceilings? He's like, 38. Close. And as we're walking around the house, I'm like, this is between 25,000 and 30,000 square feet. He was like, 29. Good eye.
Impressive, yeah.
And as he showed me all the amenities, he's like, but I bet you won't guess how many cars downstairs fits. 40. I was just like, what? So like I forced him, like, show me. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Show me right now. Like, cool, we're in a mansion, like, but this is beachfront. You have one boat slip, like, and like we talked through it and like walked through the ceiling heights, and I got like my sneakers all muddy. But that's more what it is for me. Like, it's a true, like, it's like most guys see it and think, how many units can I rent out? I do that too, but I just love bricks and sticks. So like I'll see something and be like, what could it be?
Right.
Versus what it is. Most people look at it like, okay, how many units? What's the finishes? What's the rent? How much can I put in per door? And I'm like, well, could we add another floor? Could we chop off the back? What could we do?
Yeah, it sounds like you got more of a
Creative,
but more like contractors do that too.
That's the business I grew up in. So I didn't grow up in real estate investment, buying and selling buildings. I grew up under my stepdad as a really big woods craftsman wood shop in Philly.
Yeah, see, that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Because a normal, not to say you're not normal, but normal people,
not
you're
normal.
right.
Please
normal
don't call me
people
normal.
will look at, they look at the numbers and they look at what can I benefit from this. What can I profit off of it, right? Because they looking at the numbers, they looking at the total amount of units, they looking at all these things where they can maximize it. But you're looking at on more of a constructural view. I can add, right? I can add a yard space, or I can add this to add more value to the property, amenities, right? Yeah. So you're looking at it from a different scope.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because a lot of people that come from that background go into that type of field.
Yeah,
you went opposite.
Yeah, I went to a place to disrupt it because it's really inefficient. It's like when I lived in my first Brooklyn apartment building, the basement ceiling heights were like barely 6 feet. And so the owner, when he was showing me, was like, yeah, I'm not really doing anything. I have a one paid washer and one paid dryer. I'm like looking, it's like, old, long, this is like Putnam Ave. This is like past Utica. And the basement ran the whole length of the house. So I was like, why don't you just start putting some storage units down here? I bet you every single tenant will rent. And he was like, it's not a bad idea. So he put up some rinky-dink storage units and they all rent out. And so like I was doing that off the top of my head without trying. And then when I'm really intentional, that's really when we got into the idea of like, well, what if we just rip this whole shit apart and do it different? Like, why does 10 years ago, 5 years ago, why was renting an apartment costing people 10 grand or 15 grand? Or if you didn't have a driver's license, you only lived in certain neighborhoods. Like, you couldn't live in the city. Like, why is there so much that's inaccessible? It's bullshit. Right. Technology democratizes all of it. So, and that's why I like to work with people who do it. So even Al for pavement, like his whole thing is like, Amazon is going to hit a peak. And if I sell nutcrackers in Queens, but I put it online and I get orders from Mount Vernon and Jersey City and Staten Island, why can't I ship there? Well, because you're not a big enough seller. There's no same day delivery for nutcrackers. There just isn't.
Right.
Why couldn't there be? Why couldn't you just log onto a platform and just ship same day within a 5 to 10 mile radius?
So need some clarity. You mean like the
innovation.
Nutcrackers you buy on the beach, or the nutcrackers?
Like alcohol. Like
okay.
alcohol.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. But like, sorry.
For those of you that don't know,
very New York Center.
It's a very New York City
Very
thing.
New York City. I just saw the bottle of alcohol, so it just came to me.
Yeah. So
But
the ones you buy on the beach.
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, innovation. Like you're right. The same way I look at real estate, the same way I look at everything. And I just believe everything is going to the point where innovation is normalized. Old ways are going to be archaic. Just like your son, if you guys had him 10 years ago and he was a teenager, you wouldn't let a 15-year-old boy get into a car with a stranger that wasn't a yellow taxi. You wouldn't fathom. When he's 10, you'll probably be like, you get an Uber account. Because that's
right. Even down to the cell phones.
Yeah. And 10 years from now, I'll be doing what I'm doing in space. And so like I just always believe the next frontier is that's where I'm most comfortable.
In exploration.
Yeah, for sure. So like I can't wait to figure out how to do lease apartments and space stations. It's coming. I mean, space station hotels are already in existence. I mean, you've seen commercial flights happening on a daily basis. That's not going to just be billionaires. Like the speed of access to space is about to be as short as as short as it took the iPhone from 07 when it was big to like 10, 11 when it was small and square. Remember how fast the iPhone shrunk? You guys like recognize that?
Yeah.
Like it was wild.
Yeah.
And like you remember how fast Samsung went from one camera to like 5, right? In like 5 years. Well, like that's an example of like America. The amount of time between like the Wright brothers taking the first flight and landing on space. I have to use air quotes for all my people out there that think differently. That was only 66 years or like 63 years between figuring out how to fly
To where we at now.
to landing on the moon. That's 60 years, right? That's
Right.
a grandparent,
Right.
right? And now, you can go weightlessness right above the atmosphere. There'll be a McDonald's on moon in the next 20 years.
The guy that actually wrote this book, Exponential Organizations, he described that too. With everything moving at at such a pace that
Acceleration.
you're right. Whatever is right now, it's going to multiply in a couple of years, and then after that, it's going to continue to double in speed. So everything that we're used to right now, it's going to be obsolete in a couple of days without you realizing, because there's always going to be something new because everything is speeding up with such an advancement.
Which is why consistency and execution is the only thing that matters.
And speed.
Well,
You still got to move at a certain pace.
Which pace is in your control.
Right.
I think correct pace is the pace you can maintain consistently over a long period of time. I think a lot of people confuse speed with like hurrying up and go, and then they burn out.
Right.
It's really easy to quit when you run fast for an extended period of time. Like it just is. You're winded. But like if you treat it like a marathon, there's no failure, because the learning curve will just be continuous. And I think that's the most important thing. Like I also don't like to sacrifice learning curve for speed, because usually when you're moving fast, you don't let it sink in.
You miss some steps in between.
Or you miss the lessons.
But moving slow can have an impact too.
Well, and again, that's why
you
it's
miss
not.
out. Yeah.
And that's why it's not about either or. For me, it's just about like what can you maintain.
Right. There's certain. I agree with that totally 100%, because there's certain things that you need to move with speed, but then you have to know how to manage those pace, because sometimes you have to move at a fast speed because you might miss out on an opportunity, but at the same time you may have to slow to make sure it's done correctly. So you manage the pace as you go, because sometimes you're gonna have
It's
to
a throttle.
Right, it's a throttle. You're absolutely right, because then sometimes you have to slow down, but you have to know when. And that's where the struggle comes from a lot of entrepreneurs, especially young ones, right? Because they see,
A little bit.
right, they're moving at such a fast pace,
Yeah.
right? And like to your point, they get burnt out. But at the same token, like somebody can also miss out by being procrastinating in a sense, like
And usually, I mean, tell me if you guys agree with me on this one.
right.
But usually that procrastination or that burnout, especially with the young ones and older, comes from an unwillingness to give up lifestyle. Right? Like just I will go 6 months without buying any clothing. I will go 6 months without eating out at all.
So they don't want to do the delayed gratification.
I will wait when the homie says, we all going to dinner, someone's birthday party. Don't be afraid to ask. Well, how much is it per head? I don't know. You got it. Well, it's only $100. Like, can you get to the point where you're like, no. Like, no. The most powerful tool when running at any speed or at any race, sprint or marathon, is the ability to say no. And I think the hardest part for most entrepreneurs, old and young, is unwillingness to say no, right? Because that's the most uncomfortable thing isn't starting. It actually isn't even failing. And it damn sure for most people isn't even looking really bad or dumb in front of other people, right? It's their unwillingness to let go of what was their norm, right? To truly be successful, it takes a mind shift in entirety. And then when you shift in entirety, you maintain that in perpetuity. Like, you don't go back.
Right.
Like, there's no like a side hustle, you can maintain yourself. Entrepreneurship or a dive in, you have to accept that you're going to change 100%. And
continue to grow.
Yeah, from that point.
Right.
Again, there's no going back. And like, I think that's where most people actually burn out and quit, because they get to that point where they're like, there's some semblance of success. You got space, you got the lights, you got the cameras, you got guests, you got lineups, you got referrals. And then all of a sudden, views took up. All of a sudden, analytics start to spike. All of a sudden, asks come from different places. And you have a choice. Level up to where it's going. Like, level up is no different than just letting momentum carry you.
Mm-hmm.
Or saying like, oh, wait, we kind of just want to keep it this thing. And like most people will tell themselves the lie of, I can just keep it this thing. It doesn't need to be that big. It doesn't need to be that much. But that's only because they're afraid to really like be uncomfortable and grow. And then they'll see the homie or anybody else killing it, and like you'll just live in the what if. Then you'll be spiteful, and then like you'll never really jump back into it because you're hurt from your own self in decisioning around changing. And so I think like that's really it. Like, I think, again, I keep bringing him up, but only because he's a mutual friend. But like when I landed and I picked up my car, I didn't want to drive an hour back to the city from JFK. I was going to call Al and be like, can I crash on your couch?
Right.
Live 5 minutes from front of JFK. You know what he told me this morning?
What's that?
I'm glad you didn't call me because I don't have a couch.
Yeah.
He said my situation is different.
Yeah.
I got rid of that.
He did.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
He really did.
He got rid of
Everything.
not everything. He still got the car.
No,
Well, he
didn't.
wants to get rid of the car.
No, it's in Jersey now.
Oh, it's gone?
The car's Toro, 100%.
Yeah, well,
Out of state.
yeah, that's different. He's renting out. But what I'm saying is,
Fair, but remember,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
only because he can't sell
he
it.
can't sell it. Yeah, that's good.
So,
That's true.
you know, what do you do when the dealership says, I don't want to buy it back, or to take it off you is going to cost you?
Right.
Say, fuck it, go rent
Let
it.
it go. Yeah.
Right? And like,
And he let go of it. I give him a lot of credit because the moment he made that decision, and I think that's important for everybody to know.
For sure.
Like the moment you make that decision,
yeah, you got to double down.
you got to double down. You got to let go a lot of old things. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the point that a lot of people still don't get to that internal decision.
Yeah.
We say we want it,
Yeah.
but when you internally say,
Yeah.
"Nah, I'm
Yeah.
done. This is what I'm going."
He rode a
after."
bike 13 miles to the city today. He has no
Yeah.
car. He rode his bike to the city to meet. He rode it back. That's 26 miles. He's using my bike lock. Right? How can you not want to work with somebody like that, right?
or wanted to see him win.
And that's the entrepreneurs I work with every single day, and the creators I work with every day. Like, I have a ridiculously good deal on my apartment right now because I got a COVID special, right?
Likewise.
Big wins came out of COVID. And I could have made a simple decision. I got 4 bedrooms. I can easily Airbnb them, easily. Or I can have amazing space for me, my son when he's there, home office / gym, and a guest room that is always filled with guests. Space for meditation. And all of a sudden I can make this like a home, because the other part of the people who do make the decision to double down, the second level is when they have to come out the trenches. It's actually really easy to stay in the trenches. Like once you like double down, like fuck it, like I'm in here going for broke, right? Wearing the same 5 outfits. People forget that that's actually easy to stay in. Right. And the mentality that keeps you in actually is like a little bit of a hindrance too. So I lost a relationship when I like moved and like decided to settle because I chose, okay, I'm not crashing on the couch anymore. I'm a dad, I'm not in the trenches, yada yada. I can have a home, and like making a home was really important because I knew I had to choose at this point a stable place, right? No more trenches, no more just hacking it, no more like Spirit flights because they're $69, right? Like I can choose to like fly better and like make moves that elevate me.
Right.
Well, with all that running around now, you have to have home base.
Right.
And home base is like critical. And Al and others will get there too.
I was going to say that. Don't you have to go through that at some point? Because in the
Go through
beginning,
what?
the trenches.
Oh yeah.
Because when you double down, there's a lot of sacrifices, right? You're not going out.
It's the ultimate sacrifice.
You're reading more. You're learning more about the field that you're pursuing, right? So once you get all that in, it might take you a while to get out the trenches. I agree, right? Because I hear that sometimes. Hey, man, you got to go out. You got to go do that. And I'm like, no, I got work to do. But I feel that we still have to go through that phase to really start it.
Well, sure. Yeah. I think the most important thing is in the phase, you got to know when it's time to accept the level up, right? Because like when you cut expenses to sub $2,000 a month, and the thing you're building starts making, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 grand a month, you can afford to pay yourself. What do most entrepreneurs do? They don't pay themselves. They stay broke. Then all of a sudden, when it comes time to do a partnership deal, because now you're making $25,000, $50,000 a month, you take that trenches mentality to those partnership meetings. You come from a space when you're negotiating brand deals and upside and royalties like you're still in the trenches, and you fuck yourself up because you're not doing the right math. You're definitely not staying long-winded. You're just ready to be here with it.
And the people you're talking to can see that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's
then,
so apparent.
And then it becomes binary. They're either going to take advantage,
exactly,
or they're going to walk away. So I think, it's two parts. Trenches, critical, separates 98%, and then the 1% that choose to go into the trenches, probably 75 basis points of that 100 basis points of 1% like come out. So like a quarter of 1% make it to the level up. Because once you level up out the trenches, that's the second tier of having not to give a fuck. Because going for broke actually doesn't have that many people going crazy or hating or talking about you. It's a little bit like a self-disappointment. Like, oh, why are you choosing to live like that? But when you come out of it and you level up and that now you're maintaining that, that's when the hate comes. No one actually hates you when you're down. It's almost like bullshit support. But when you actually start to win, that's when it's problematic. And that's usually when people either fuck it up or are afraid of it to the point where they just stay in the trenches because that's the easy place. That's where they're accepted. And so I'd say like trenches is the commitment to let it go. And then the level up is the courage to be different and new. And like that, Al and other creatives that I work with and other founders, I mean, we all go through it, right? Like the success story has an upswing. The hard part is no one ever asks you the mental stress of the upswing. It's almost like Drake. Like we love to talk about Drake because of what he talks about and like, is he really the best rapper? But candidly, he's probably one of the most authentic lyricists since Jay-Z. What does he talk about? The struggles of making it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
the storyline hasn't changed with him.
But it's been the same struggle of success, since. Like it doesn't change. Like you got a guy who will admit like I bought women houses. Like I didn't just blow 50 grand on the vacation with my soldiers just to see the look on their faces. All it took was patience. Like, no, like you have a series of girlfriends that like jugged you for real bread, millions. Right? Like, and then like, you're not with your son's mom. Like the outcomes are real. And like, I wish people would take it as serious as like Jay talking about, losing 90 bricks and getting it back. Yeah. Or like, Nas and Jungle being in Queensbridge, like shirtless all summer. Like, I don't know. It's almost like we glorify the person that's up only because we disassociate ourselves with being there. And I think the level up comes when you can see yourself being there. Sorry, that was a really long-winded answer.
No, that was.
No, it's.
I apologize.
Yeah, no, it was deep. Remember, you did it again. Remember that he likes to lay it on thick.
No, listen, man, it touches. It's personal. I don't know. It's it touches home.
I think anybody who is successful can relate to that, or on their journey where they're on the next level can 100% relate to that, because if you keep doing the same thing, over and over, you accept it, everyone else is just going to identify you as that person who just keeps doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So when I was talking to you yesterday, Stanley, about like you have to set like metrics, like goals, like, okay, I'm here now, fine, but now what's the next level? Like, that's where I need to go. Like you have to be 100% focused on like the next goal all the time. And you can be in, like he says, like in the trends and be proud of it. And a lot of people like take pride in that, right? And you hear this all the time, I work this hard doing this for this long. I'm like, okay, I mean,
What do you got to show for
what do
it?
you have to show for
Yeah.
it? Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's great. And I'm great. I'm glad you have like that work ethic. But what did you do with that? Where did you go with that?
Right,
you know,
right.
what do you have to show for that?
Right.
And he has a home to show for that. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
On that next level. You
That's
know?
a good point.
Yeah. I think.
And
I
then
think,
he also have a son, and
Yeah.
a son that has a home, right? Because you have to think about your whole life, right? And what's really important. Because at the end of the day, it's important to do this, and that. But he said himself, his most important job is his son.
Mhm.
So, and tell us how he inspires you, actually.
Easy. He doesn't take me serious. I mean, it's like it's like the Obama joke where like he was like when he first became president, first term. He said Sasha and Malia used to laugh at him because he'd be like, "Hey, do this," and they'd be like, "Dad, whatever." And he said, "Do you guys know everyone else listens to me?" And he said, Sasha and Malia were like, "No, they don't. Who listens to you, Dad?" Dad. And like that's how
Yeah.
Gavin treats me. I mean, it's I don't know. He's humbling. I think the easiest way is like, no matter what, 10 times out of 10, there is these 3 main moments of fatherhood. And also too, like, shout out to his mom. She's the best co-parent in the entire world.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't be who he is if it wasn't for us being a tag team. And so she's 100% phenomenal, and he takes from both of us. And so the 3 pieces of his lifestyle that affect me most is, 1, when he is super inquisitive. So it's dad, where are my dinosaurs? Or like the specificity of which one is missing. And so I think his ownership of his things is really interesting because like he reminds me what's important to him, which is humbling because like as a parent, you want your kid to be fresh. He's like, I don't care about sneakers.
He's not into that.
I don't care about matching clothes. Dad, I want to wear the blue and the red one.
Yeah.
I like, so it's like it pulls me back from being like an OD parent of over-indexing on my preferences, and it makes me because he knows what he wants. It forces me to listen to his preferences
Right.
and respect them and do them. Right. Number 2 is he goes to a bilingual school, and so I'm constantly trying to like push Spanish on him, and he speaks Spanish when he wants to, when he feels like it. So like one day we're in Target and he randomly starts just amarillo, rojo, blanco, and he starts like we're in the deodorant aisle, so it's super colorful. So he's just pointing at all the different like beauty supplies and like saying their the name in Spanish, you know, the Dominican woman turns around. She looks at me, and I'm like, yeah, it's school. And so she was gonna speak to me in Spanish, obviously, but she turns to him, and she's pretty much just says like, you know, good job, and he smiles, and like I just stand back and like let that happen. I don't jump in and be like, how do you say orange in Spanish?
Naranja? No, is it not? No.
Naranja?
Naranja.
Naranja? Something like that?
Naranja. Yeah.
Something close to that. And like, even like he like didn't pronounce it, like instead of jumping down his throat to correct him, I like literally let him live. So him doing what he wants when he wants to, I recognize is important. And then bedtime. So my son's a huge finesser, and it's kind of like, hey, it's bedtime, and it's like, no, it's like, we're not going to go through this. You know the vibes. Bedtime. Okay, why don't you come lay next to me, Dad? And I'm like, no. And he's like, he'll tap the bed and like rub the sheets. Like, come lay next to me, Dad. I'm like, no. He's like, okay, come give me a hug. And I give him a hug. He hooks my arm, and he act like he's sleeping, won't let me go. And it's like, here's like 5-6 techniques. And so like, I don't know, my mind.
Priceless.
Yeah. And so like, that's like my top 3, like seeing him like finesse and like pushing for what he wants. You know, his creativity and like dropping his intelligence when he wants to, not when he's asked to or forced to. And then like the specificity of what he knows about his own space is awesome. Like I actually like at 3.5, just open the closet and be like, what do you want to wear today? Right? His mom gets pissed sometimes because like he literally will pick pajamas or like a winter coat. And I'm just like, hey, it's 95 degrees outside. Open the window, stick your hand out. You want to wear the coat? You're going to be hot. Yeah, I want to wear the coat. All right, let's wear the coat. 3 seconds. Dad, it's so hot. Well, you wanted to wear the coat. Now we gotta wear the coat. So like, I just like he reminds me of like that kind of parent, and I think collectively those things heal me from my childhood trauma, and that's probably what's most important is like all the childhood trauma, because all adults are reflections of their inner child, for sure. Doesn't matter how old you are, your inner child is what drives you as adults, and so he's been instrumental to my healing process and my own inner child issues and all the trauma.
I think it's good. You know, you give them that freedom to make decisions and to learn and to own the decision, right? Because we all have to do that, even as old as we get, not just as children, right? We all have to do that, and then he realizes it. And he learns by himself. He doesn't have to have somebody scold him about it.
Yeah, and he picks up on that. Like, he'll see other parents, and I just won't scream on them. I'm like, oh, I don't even threaten spanking. I don't. I've popped him 4 times in his life, tops. Like, I don't, because candidly, like, I used to get my ass beat as a kid. So like, 1, I was like, I'll never treat my child like that. But 2, I recognize how much hard discipline made me an adult that assimilated. So when I got in environments, I was right, because that was the household I came from, and I always knew there was a struggle because I hated assimilation. That's why I always got in trouble, because like, I don't care, you can knock me out, but I'm still going to do what I want. And as an adult, it wasn't until like entrepreneurship came along where it was like, hey, that's accepted. There's like a whole like career path for people to just do what the fuck they want. And it's okay. And I was like, oh my God, this is for me. Even though all my homies at the time in their early 20s coming out of college were like, no, corporate. And like, I was just a leader of the pack. Like, I mean, thank God, like, but they still had their 6-figure corporate jobs. I was sleeping on their couches. And now, you know, they're coming up behind me. Right?
That's the truth.
So it's just the truth, right? Or like,
and it works for some. It works
it
for
does.
some.
It's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
So you're right.
It's not for everybody.
Because, you know, but it's interesting how like everything you do, like you're in your personal life, right? Your open-mindedness to different ways to approach things, and the way you look at different solutions, or how to manage things differently, or how things don't have to be addressed traditionally.
Yeah, there's
you
no
know?
box.
It's exactly, there's no box, and it's reflected in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
You know, because some people aren't like that. It's interesting because you'll see people that are like that in certain parts of their life, but not in other parts of their life. Like with their children, they're different.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then you see them outside, and you're like, oh, that's you. You know.
Oh.
But you're 100%
Grandparents.
authentically the same everywhere. Like,
well, that
every part of your life.
I had to learn to get there.
Yeah.
So I thank you for giving me those flowers, because that is a part of a very clear set of intentional works that I've done the last year. 2 years was to be the same Keenan in public and private. Like, that was a very big struggle for me, because everything had assimilated me or conditioned me to do that, right? From the parental strongholds to the academia rigor of college to, you know, Wall Street internships. Like, I remember being, 20, and they used to like make fun of me on the trading floor. Like, who's the fucking intern with like the pink and black striped shirt from Thomas Pink? Like, who the fuck does that kid think he is? Yeah. And like, I didn't get the internship, but I wore that all the time. That's what I wanted to do. Like, I was like, my co-founder tells me, like, he still brings it up. In undergrad, I had like a shark skin suit. When like we were in our business program, they wanted us to be like blue, black, gray. I was like, nah, fuck that. I got shark skin shoes. Like, I got some fly shit from New York. And I was in Tallahassee, Florida. And it was hot, and I still was wearing it. And they're like, yo, why's your silver kind of sparkle? I was like, because it's shark skin. and like, I failed that class, right? I don't know. I just, I think being the same person, to your point, which is a phenomenal point, in public, in private, in front of kids, in front of adults, when the money's on the table, when fun's on the table. The reason why that was so hard for me was because being dual or triple faced was accepted. It almost expected, right? It's like, you go to church, you kind of really assimilate. Like, that's like the level set. Like, doesn't matter academia, age, wealth. Like, religion is like the most clear mechanism of making someone assimilate and being under a semblance of control publicly when it comes to like synagogues or just the practices of religion, right? And I remember it being like, wait, preachers can wear t-shirts and jeans? Like, oh, I'm gonna go to that church. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, when I started to be around places and spaces that embraced the same person and no more duality, that actually helped me really start to heal, lock into myself, because the time I spent being dual-faced, I never knew who I was.
Right.
Ever. Like, ever. And every accolade was the thing that I allowed to speak for me. And I turned 35 in December. Like, I'm 34 and a half. So, like, to be at this point where, like, I'm just now walking in that full-fledged truth, like, it's a relief.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, duplicity, a lot of people go through duplicity, but they just don't know.
Yeah.
Because they don't know, because they so used to playing both sides, right? Yeah. So because to some degree, some people have to wear a hat. They got to wear the husband hat. They got to wear the father hat. They got to wear the work hat, you know, the friend hat. You know, there's so many hats. So sometimes the duplicity happens without them even realizing it. Yeah. So it's kind of hard.
It's habitual. They've been doing it their whole life.
It becomes habitual, yes. Yeah. But the other part about it, some people, and this is just my opinion on it, some people need structure. Not everyone is, I think my niece, my wife's sister's, she's my niece too, but my wife's sister's daughter, she brought up something that was iconic to me, because she said that, you know.
How old is she?
6, yeah. Okay. She said, well, in Asia, because she allowed her to do whatever, free will, free spirit, but you can see that's part of her too, that she's actually a free spirit person. Mm-hmm. So when you see that, we were having a conversation, and she said, in China or Asia, one of them, that they don't discipline their kids until they reach 5 years old. Yeah. After 5 years old, that's when they start to add more structure.
Same thing with grades. They don't get grades until later.
And then at that point, that's when they start to, you know, add structure. Mm-hmm. Some people do well in structure where other people don't. You know, if you have more of a creative mind, then structure may not be the thing for you. But if you're just like, you have an organizational mind, maybe you need structure, because Obama said something when he was growing up. He said his mother had to wake him up and build a routine because she wanted to install structure and discipline, right? So, and as he was getting older and older, she was like, listen, I don't like doing this. Yeah. But you still got to get up early. We got to go over your work, and then you got to start your day. So this step by step, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do.
But that's a reflection of my point. We're all representatives of our childhood.
Correct.
Every single one of us.
Correct.
Like, it doesn't matter.
But the duplicity part, that's why I was trying to bring a point, is that a lot of times because we have to wear so many hats.
We're told we do.
We're told we do. And that's where we get lost sometimes, and trying to find ourselves.
Because naturally, you don't want that. Like,
you don't know which one is you.
Listen,
you don't know. And to your point, and to the point that Christine had brought earlier, what makes you? We were having this conversation where we talked about having, you know, you're still who you are. No matter where you go, what you do, you're still who you are. And whether it's a substance or whether it's money, something's gonna highlight who you are. So you can't just really hide that person. But I think some people just don't know who they are.
Sigmund Freud has a good quote: when it's not good to bury emotions, because all you're doing is leaving them covered, and eventually they're gonna come back above ground uglier than when you buried them. Like, you know, I emphatically agree with that. And I think also too, like, that duplicity comes from conditioning of societal norms, right? Like, we raise people like we do animals, reward and punishment. Everything's reward and punishment based, right? No different with the dog. Didn't pee inside, or you went outside and peed, cookie. Child, you didn't pee in the bed this morning, you know, what do you want? Or you're complaining, okay, I'll get you a toy. Or you're hungry because you're complaining, I'll feed you. And like, I think the level I'm trying to get to with my son is giving him the space to like work through it on his own, because so he doesn't build reliance just on me. So so your structure point makes sense, and I see both sides, because the other side is if you have it all the time, then you don't know how to build it for yourself. So when the time comes for you to be successful and do it alone and solo, you're fucked up because you don't have the core competencies.
You don't have the will to.
Well, it's not even just will. You don't have the muscle memory. You didn't do it enough for yourself.
True.
Right. And so I think, I had a lot of issues growing up where like I messed up. My mom make me quit something, and my sister's dad used to always be like, well, if I was around, I'd make you finish everything. Like you wouldn't quit shit. Like you'd have to see it through. And I bring that up in particular because, there was like a hat that was like, no, we're gonna push through. We're gonna get everything done. And there was like a lack of discipline hat in personal life where I was like, oh, well, whatever. Relationships all just kind of fell apart, and it just went on to the next one. And I think that's due to kind of like thinking in so much singularity and mixing that with never trying to do it on my own, which is probably one of the best things about entrepreneurship for me, is that it took me away from parental guidance, formal structure, academic rigor, a boss, and made me run my show. And then every time the ball dropped, it was super clear whose fault it was. Like, I can't point fingers. They're all pointing back at me.
I mean, I know you say structure, but I like to say it doesn't have to necessarily be structure, but maybe it's more self-discipline, where you create like a certain expectation for yourself, right? So, and it could be a certain expectation for yourself on a daily basis, like, so it appears as structure, but it's a structure can be just a way of thinking, right?
No, well, I think that's the key.
That's the key as you get older.
Yeah.
As you get older, you start to understand the difference, right? But I think, how do you develop that, right? If you, and I've seen it too. I've seen it where some kids had structure in their lives, and you could see that it's not every day, all right? It's not throughout the day. But like if you go to early childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wake them up. You got to do your nursery rhymes,
nap time.
You got nap time.
Schedule.
They schedule. It's schedule.
And
right?
kids need routine. I get.
Yeah.
It's
I
routine.
agree.
It's routine,
Yeah.
right? It's
Definitely,
routine.
routines are
It could be
critical.
routine. It could be routine.
Right.
But I speak to a lot of successful people, and one of the things that come across all the time is routine.
Yeah.
Right. That routine comes from structure. Like, I know it's not so much of a goal. It's more of what you said earlier, muscle memory. Your body's been doing it for so long that it becomes a habit getting up early in the morning.
Based on your choices, though.
Based on your choices.
Yeah, like
based on your
your choices
those
drive
choices
routine.
start to
Right.
develop more as you get older.
Right, and it's
You
important.
start
Independence feeds that thought process, because we got a lot. I mean, I was in my 30s still trying to wake up. At the time, my mom was making me do that in high school. Like, I caught myself like, wait, what the fuck are you doing? And then I was like, nah, 4:30, let's go.
Yeah.
Right, and then like
Yeah.
early mornings became like the goal.
But
Right?
it's the routine.
Well,
It's the routine.
But I'm saying is routine makes sense when I set the routine.
Right.
Not using any reference points from my past.
Right.
Like I had to totally break free and be like, no, I want to do it this way.
You want to do it, but hey, you're right.
Because
You're 100%
because
right.
I found that when I did it this way, that's actually optimal for me.
And here's the thing about the goal. I think what stood out to me was the goal, because I can have a goal to get up, but because I don't have a routine, my body won't.
Yeah.
They'll just go like, hell no.
Yeah.
You slept yesterday.
Snooze.
So you got
Well, because 15 years.
The goal doesn't really have an impact until you have a routine.
Yeah.
And then when the routine happens, now it's like, okay, now I can
can't
set
happen
goals.
without structure. So you're
Without
right.
structure.
Right.
And the structure, and that's what I'm saying is that at some point, as if you have some type of structure growing up, some of those things stay with you. Even the bad ones, right? Even with the bad ones, like, for example, some people are like, I didn't like, my parents was disciplined, or my parents did this, my parents did
Stay
that.
up late all the time.
Yeah. But those speeches stay in the back of your mind. They don't go away.
You know what's
right?
hard about that though? like if we're really honest, those speeches are bullshit because those speeches came from their hurt or their
it
structure.
came from their hurt, and you're right. It came from their structure.
And so I know it's like a gut punch comment. So wait, let me explain myself. Yeah. The reason why I say it's bullshit is because now, as entrepreneurs, as self-starters, as people that do their own thing, you actually know the most important, like the first step is core inner belief. Like, or just net the ability to go inward.
Correct.
Like, you know that for a fact, like this would not happen if there was not inward belief. You would not be present. You would not be present if there wasn't inward belief, right?
Correct.
Inward belief is a conscious, like it comes from a collective consciousness.
Right.
Like it's an internal thing. Name one piece of structure or behavioral adjustment or conditioning from childhood that taught you to look inward. Zero. It was all external. I say do this. I say do that. You must because I say. It was control based.
True.
As adults, breaking through the control level is the first step to truly get into a point of belief, which then allows you to do a routine. Mornings didn't make sense to me until I let go that nights didn't make sense to me. And the only reason why I was doing nights was because I wasn't allowed to do nights. Like it's like freshman year of college.
Right.
Like I was an adult still acting like the first year out of home. Right? Oh shit, I got freedom. And it's like, well, I was so, oh shit, I got freedom, and less, okay, what am I gonna do with this time? Right. What makes the most sense for me? What do I really want? Like those questions I'm asking myself in my 30s. I want to get my son to the point where he asks him that in his single digits.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm just going to pose a question.
Sure.
You know what you know now.
Yeah.
Right? And you know what helped you. Mm-hmm. Right? You know your son is coming up. At some point, you're going to have those conversations. Right?
Have to.
You have to.
Well, and talk about duality. Like he lives two different lives between mommy and daddy.
Well, then that becomes
that
becomes more challenging. Yeah. But let's say he was with you.
Sure.
You know you experience
well,
it.
Wait,
you're successful.
Let me preface it. We're together every day. I do mornings, she does nights. We switch weekends. So I see him 7 days a week.
Okay, perfect. So now let's say you're successful and you have you know what got you here.
Yep.
You're gonna pass those gems down.
Yes.
Right. So whether he follows it or not, those gems are still with him. Well, so how BS could it be?
So because what I'm calling bullshit was not the gems.
But that's what I'm talking about, the gems.
So wait. So when you said structure and routine and the things you took, I thought like it was the crack down.
No. What I'm saying is that
you're talking about the wisdom.
The wisdom.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
If I'm giving you structure, but I'm telling you why.
Right? Okay, you didn't say that earlier.
Yeah,
you didn't say that earlier.
I didn't emphasize that. I didn't emphasize that. But if you're giving somebody ideas, suggestions, right? Yeah. Because it's only your suggestion based off your life. Because as they get older, they got to live their life. But you know what worked for you. You know what's been successful. You've been around a lot of successful people. Yeah. You read a lot of successful books. Yeah. You know all the stories. If I'm imparting those with you as you're getting older and adding some structure, whether you follow it or not, it's still going to stay with you.
Well, I'll emphasize more so the bullshit piece. The things I think that are most important for him in the single digits from wisdom is actually inward character development and development of self. So for instance, I'd rather him see daddy meditate every day and him be encouraged to meditate with me than knowing that when my voice hits a certain depth, daddy's serious. I'd rather him see me, from a routine standpoint, move a certain way, and then him making a choice of I observe, I can choose to copy that or not, right? So, I agree. So a lot of my friends in real estate who are super wealthy, it's a practice I damn sure do now with Gavin. I take him to business meetings and I make him sit at the table and I don't give him my iPad, I don't give him a phone. Yeah. And not,
I do the same thing. I have him on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
Which, Christine was like very professional.
Yeah, like I do it when I'm signing contracts.
Just to let him hear the language and hear.
Yeah.
Because in the back, because even though he's probably not paying attention,
oh no, he is.
He is.
It's
subconsciously it's sinking in. So
tapping into consciousness is like the things that our parents gave us that didn't tap into consciousness is what I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like
that. I agree.
That's the hardcore
Yeah.
punishment, reward, conditioning you as an animal, and like you're no different than a pet.
Correct.
Which then only reinforces you longing for justification and validation from an external source. Right. Like we all say it, and we don't really know how toxic it is, but I want to make my mom or dad proud is arguably one of the most toxic things that we can feel, because that comes from I am only good enough if they say.
If they say, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if I get that approval, which is a mindfuck to a lot of people, because, like, that's how society is. Like, that's not just cultures or religions or certain races. Like, no, that's universal, right? Again, it's a social norm. And I think, what I talk about with my son's mom a lot is, like, breaking those social norms. So she's Harvard educated, ex D1 athlete, routine to the core. I developed discipline as an adult, not as a youth. And so our approach to life is, gelling more now. But I remember when we first were pregnant, I was like, I don't care about college. For what? Maybe if he gets a full ride, sure, he can earn his way. But like, I plan on having him sit at all my contract dinners, all my negotiations from 3 to 15, and I'm going to fund him his first real estate investment. I fully expect him as a teenager to probably make his first $1 million on his own. Why does he need college? For what? And I say that because I watch my friends do it, right? Like, my buddy in high school, it turned out his dad was in a mob, but we all kind of knew it. But like, he didn't finish high school, right?
Try snitching. I'm just joking.
Well, listen, I didn't give you any state. I didn't give you any names. That was in the mob, but he didn't finish high school, right?
Right.
And we're like, yo, he's a job. Like, I remember a lot of people, he's a job. And I was like, man, he's driving a BMW that he bought. He was coming to school with cash that didn't come out of his dad's pocket. And he wasn't on drugs. Like, he was like flipping cell phones. Like, he always had like these crazy like money.
Because of the hustle mentality.
Just crazy hustle.
Yeah.
And like at 19, he had like a Metro PCS, and then like at a jewelry store with his cousin. And like, I remember like after like that summer between high school and college, I spent a lot of time with him, more than I had all of high school. And I was like, yo, you've been doing this since you were 14? 14? Like, no L's was getting a car because he did like go do deliveries and the meat delivery because his uncle had a butcher shop, and then we found out what they were doing in the back of the butcher shop. But nevertheless, his uncle was making him like move meat, and he was like driving a truck at 14, like crazy responsibility, right? Thank God he actually didn't get super caught up because he's still doing well now. But like, I remember in high school, I didn't look at him in awe because of what he had. I looked at him in awe because of what he knew. Give me a 16-year-old back in our 16. I'm 34, right? So 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, 18, sorry, who knew what a checkbook balancing was, who had more than one bank account, who had a credit card in their parents' name that was like they were like a user of the account, who had a car with their insurance in their name, not his dad's name, not his mom's name. Like, the maturity level was wild because he was given a lot early to handle. And so, like, for instance, I kind of bring it all back to my son. I told his mom, I was like, I'm looking forward to the day he's like, Dad, I want to do this thing and it costs 10 grand. And I get to say, cool, I got 5. How are you going to earn the other 5? I will never give you the whole 10, ever. You will always have to earn something.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, for my birthday, I want to do this. Cool. How are you going to plan it?
Yeah.
Like, there's no like, well, can you and Mom book our tickets? No, you want to go with your friends on a senior trip? Like, show me the itinerary. Go run the model and show me the full pricing. Like, it's just like, to me, the generational wealth thing starts from a form of consciousness. So kind of back to your original point of like the thing I was calling bullshit. Yes, we weren't talking about the wisdom, but what I recognize now is not what I say, it's what I do. And so, I think
that right
it's
there
all about what I do.
Yeah, that's so outdated, but it's been outdated because they didn't know.
Yeah.
Like so they didn't know how to explain, and certain things you're like, just explain.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that they came from a culture like, well, no, I won't because you're a child. What? That is the most asinine thing in the world because you're a child. Yeah. The most spongy.
What's the favorite one? A child needs to be
seen, not heard.
Yeah.
I mean, no. Like my kid goes to closing dinners with me. He watches Daddy sign contracts. Like what? Like I'm building a trust for him. He's going to know his attorney, his CPA, and the family wealth advisor. You know him by face, and they all look like me. I mean, like to me,
That's a positive image right there.
It's everything. It's everything. But the market just comes and congratulates me and say, you're a good dad when they see me walking them to school in Harlem. Right? The market congratulates me when like he's bugging on the train and not screaming on him. I'm just like, hey, let's talk. It's like, well, that's because the social norms are just like proximity. Oh, you're a good dad because you're there. It's like, well, what am I teaching them? Like, my dad tried to give me wisdom, and I'm like, you know, I love you to life, but you were my biological father. You were an addict. You still are. Love you, absolutely love you. But Dad, I can't take wisdom from you. What? I can't leave my son with you. Like, I love you though. No judgment. But you know, we're way past the perennial. You know, I impart things to you, and you know, he's trying to do a lot more now, and it's definitely appreciated, understood. But it's also not lost on me that like proximity isn't that important. Like what are you like? What's actually trying to be passed down? And I think, you know, these false obligations we have a lot in life. We have it with duality of just being one person, public and private. We have it with raising kids. We have it with being in relationships with our partners. We have it in business. I've learned in this being even keeled, the same Keenan backwards and forwards, is like my core belief rests in, I believe we as people are the strongest creators in the world. The brain is, and our collective consciousness is the most powerful thing ever. Like in biblical, it says if two or more agree, it shall be. Like there's so many like parables and different religions that speak to that. But it's just that's my core competency. I am the most powerful creator in existence. Whatever I say comes to fruition. Whatever I say has meaning and sticks. So when I crack jokes that are negative, that's me spelling a spell, an evil spell. If I talk bad about myself in a joking manner, I'm actually taking myself down. Yeah. And so I just
self-talk is very
self-talk is everything.
It's
like
everything. I'll be trying to, sometimes I tell my wife, she'll say something about, I don't think you should joke like that.
Yeah, no,
then,
stop.
Yeah. And then she's like,
stop doing that.
What are you talking about? I said, the universe doesn't know if it's a joke or not.
It doesn't.
Oh, really? Really? And I'll be like, it really
every
doesn't.
wait.
You're calling that on yourself.
Everything we say and think is an alignment. And if once alignment happens, that's what comes to fruition.
What did they say? The tongue is powerful. It's the most powerful thing.
Yeah. I mean, the pen's mightier than the sword. Always has been. Words and beliefs alone, before action, before consistency, before hustle, before the grind, for the trenches, before the level up, before all that. Literally, words and belief are the start and the finish, because they will kick it off. They'll carry you through the trough. They'll maintain you when you're high. They'll take you to more heights, and they'll also bring you the fuck down. Like it's just it's so simple, yet so hard.
Intent. Words define intent.
Yeah.
But you have to be intentional
around your word. Oh yeah.
With your words, like very intentional. Like if you're gonna say something, it's like you gotta. Why am I saying it?
Yeah.
Like,
I stopped letting my parents say good and great when I say, "Hey, how you doing?" I say no more G words. Can't use G words. Tell me really how you feel, mom and dad, and they struggle. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
They're like awesome, and I'm like, nope, can't use that either. Like, really tell me how you feel, and I make my parents stutter way more now than I ever have been, because everything I do with them is so incredibly intentional. Like I don't do the appeasement thing, and it's so easy to do as an adult. Hey, yeah, we good, it's all right. I remember, and then also making them uncomfortable. Like, how you doing? Not really well. A lot of my childhood trauma is popping up today. Yeah, this thing happened. It reminded me when I was 12. Not blaming you. I'm just telling you how I really feel. Crickets, and that's okay.
I remember when I first got into understanding self-talk, right? And I was watching Zig Ziglar perform, and he turned around and he said, a lot of people says, he said, he made a joke about it. It was hilarious, but I can't really phrase it word for word. But he basically said, you know, under this, based off this circumstance, under the weather. Oh, how you doing today? He said, I'm a little under the weather. And he said, so what are you doing under there? Basically saying, like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
under the weather?
But we say so
that,
much,
and then we keep ourselves sick.
We have no idea.
Because we're saying, I'm feeling sick.
It's habitual.
Right. So,
and that's also learned behavior, and that's kind of what I was saying.
That is.
But I definitely suggest you and your wife listen, and you as well, listen to some Abraham Hicks. She'll change your life. Like she'll really like blow your mind. It's sort of like the spiritual tie-in from the Zig Ziglars of the world to really understand, like, you know, what's it look like when you build positive momentum, and then what's the outcome of positive momentum? Like literally waking up, and as you sit your feet on the floor, you can choose the entire direction of your day by just what you think and say in those moments, and like how powerful and critical it is to create that momentum, which puts you into like a vortex of like just positivity. Best example I'll give you, and I'll stop being long-winded, the airport situation, right? So it's like, hey, it sucks. Most people would say that. I say, okay, this is interesting. It means something great is supposed to happen while I'm still here an extra day. It means I'm getting upgraded or compensated in some way, some awesome way that I haven't expected. The person I'm gonna sit next to tomorrow is probably gonna end up being a business partner relative to who I was ever supposed to sit next to today. Man, I can't wait to see what awesomeness is coming from tomorrow.
All right.
I think I go into the hallway. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Create the whole thing.
you create your exactly right.
So
Exactly right.
flew back first class.
Because there's always like how you
Choose.
you can exactly. Everything is a choice.
Everything's a choice.
Yes.
The way you look at anything is a choice.
Oh, decision.
I 100% agree. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
perspective, right? And
And
he
you can,
sees
and
it
it's okay to be positive in that every day, all day.
all day.
Like that's actually okay to choose.
So you look at things and okay, this flight not working out is not the end of the world,
Right.
At the
So-
beginning of a new one.
right? And you think, okay, well, let me see what can I make the most out of this flight, like
Yeah.
out of this problem or out of this
Turn
issue.
a negative into a positive.
Always, and then you'll see, okay, because if you don't do that, you're just gonna sit there and you're gonna be mad sitting in the airport, and nobody likes being mad, especially in the airport.
Right.
You know,
It's the worst.
and
It's the worst. Rick Ross has his dope little clip that was popular a couple months ago. You know, he's doing like a whole lot of social now. He's like following the blueprint of Will Smith. Shout out to Rick Ross. He's smart. Content wins. There's a snippet of him saying, I don't need to do things. I don't need everything to go right. I want to do everything correctly. And that sticks with me a lot because I interpreted that into the positive momentum piece of like always choosing to see upside, always, in every scenario, every single one, right? That meeting at the developer's house was impromptu. I messed up. I went to the wrong coffee shop. But going to his house got him to see a piece of me that didn't require a pitch in my business. He walked me through a house that I can eyeball size.
He brought you into
His
your
kids can't do
comfort
that.
zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or him seeing my comfort zone
Right.
made him comfortable. Like, oh, his kids,
Right.
like, he's smart. I don't need to see him do X, what normally would be defined as showing me you're smart. You got eyeballed a fucking stone concrete poured house. Right? Like, you know, like that's the equivalent of like getting a pat on the back, good job when you turn the paper in. Like for him to say like, oh, you actually know the eyeball, he knows way more about it than me. I mean, he's been doing this. He's been in the game long as I've been alive as a developer, right? So I'm just a kid, but I'm bold and ballsy and not afraid to be wrong. Uber dropped me off at the wrong house, right? I'm on a call with another client as I'm meeting with him, and I'm okay telling him, wait, even though I'm at your house, thank you for your time, and I'm sweating and I'm okay. Or, you know, the porta potty where the construction worker's like, I don't think you want to go in there. I'm like, why not? Like, it's cool. Or like him being like, let me show you the garage since you don't believe me. And I step in the mud and I'm like, all right, well, that's actually, that's concrete mud. So I'll let it dry and it'll fall off. I didn't trip on my sneakers. I didn't buy a new pair. I don't know. Like I love allowing that. And most people will say, well, you got to come back from it. You got to come back to reality. You know, you got to be here. You got to be present. No, you don't. You create your own reality.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Mindset is like a powerful tool if you know how to use it correctly. Yeah.
But think of how little we have control over it, and I think that's the hard part.
And really, it goes back down to really understanding yourself and understand. You said the internal belief. It only works when you really believe. Like if you believe like you're gonna have a good outcome, then you're gonna look for the good outcome. But if you don't believe it, you're not gonna look for it. So and that's where the conflict comes in. It's like I can say, oh, I'm gonna be great, but if I don't believe I'm gonna be great, then I'm not gonna look for opportunities to be great.
Or you surround yourself with naysayers.
Yeah. Well,
it's you make it. You choose to
You
do
choose
it.
to do it.
That's it.
yeah.
That's what you tell like all entrepreneurs. Like, I think for me it would be like the how. You know what I mean? Like you can be so positive and have the positive mindset.
Literally,
but sometimes it's just like how.
It's a self-talk. Every time a
Yeah.
negative thought comes in, you have a choice. How do you respond to negative thought? You can either let it consume you, or you can address it. I understand where that comes from.
But
I saw the source of that.
Here's the key
I
to
let
that,
go.
and that's 100% truth right there. But here's the key to it: the how part that you're talking about and what he's saying. There's a medium point. There's where it meets is in your subconscious, right? You gotta understand. You have to reprogram years.
Go and say that word you're about to say.
Yeah,
Go and say
hold
the B word.
Hold on.
Brainwash.
No, yes, to a
Go and
degree,
say that
yeah.
word.
But you have to reprogram
Yes, you do. Everything.
everything.
It's unlearned.
You got to unlearn everything
all.
and start learning all these new tools and new habits, right? And the best way to do it is you got to constantly catch it.
Yep.
And that's the hard part. And that's what people don't know, the how. You got to catch it.
Because
And what
we're used to
people
letting it
do,
consume us.
we because it's habit.
At the airport, who says,
habit.
you know what, Lucy, thank you for helping me out. Okay, you know what? I really know where this is coming from. I get frustrated. I feel like I'm out of control, and I think I need to be in control. But you know what? There's a reason I need to stay. So I'm going to let that control go, and I'm going to embrace this new thing. Thank you, Lucy. I'll take the 5:45 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, people just don't do that.
They don't do that. They don't do it.
They don't
but
do it.
here's a hack, though. And I learned this from several people. One guy is a real estate investor too. He was telling me how he turned his year around and he was like really successful. But the hack was he went in the mirror every day and kept saying it, kept saying it, kept saying it, kept saying it.
Yeah.
Till finally one day he was put into that situation, and before he could react, he responded because his self-talk came in through his mind, and through his subconscious said, "No, we're not gonna act like this. We're gonna do this." So
Which
the
is why you can't stay in the
conversations-
trenches too long.
That's why. But once you start, your self-talk starts to. Once you get to the point where you can catch it, is when you catch it. That's when you're like, okay, I can correct it. But if I can't catch it, I won't be able to correct it because I'm so used to doing it out of habit,
Correct.
out of bad routine.
Well, also
instead of
too,
having a good
but
routine.
unlearning, right? Paulo Coelho has this great quote where he says, "You can't. It's not about controlling your emotions. It's about controlling your reaction to your emotions, right? We are not in control of our emotions. If someone to tell a child control yourself is actual bullshit as well. They can't. Just like an adult can't, which is why we see adults spaz as much as we see kids
And act
spaz,
like children.
right? And so the whole thing is like, hey, think about why you don't like this decision. Why are you sad about it? What does it make you feel? And when you dig to the source, do you quickly change because you recognize it's not as impactful as you thought, right? Like there's gonna like there's a point where like, you know, with my son, it's like, oh, okay, you keep pooping yourself now. This is different. You got okay. So let me see. You're not telling daddy when you gotta go potty, okay? But you're not staying long enough to go. Okay. Hey, bud. When you have to go, what do you feel first? I don't know. Well, wait. Sit down. Turn the iPad off. Talk to daddy. When you have to go poopy, what happens? I itch. Okay.
That's a start.
So why don't you tell daddy next time you itch so I can help you get to the toilet faster? Do you itch now? No. Hour later. Hey, bud, you're grabbing you're like grabbing your knees and you're twitching. Do you itch? Yeah. Okay, let's go potty. Guess what? I'm gonna have to ask him that 15 times because he's not used to telling me, and eventually he'll tell me. But it started with me. I can't believe you shit your pants again. I gotta wash these clothes. It's just like it's
You really got to catch it, man. It's just
gotta catch it.
It's just
you gotta
being
catch it.
conscious.
It's
I used to get
just-
my
it is
ass
being
whooped
conscious.
for like
Be
muddying up my
self-conscious.
You know,
clothes.
another
So
thing
I had to
I've
like
learned?
flip it.
Another thing I've learned is how important is this to you, right? And I use a scale now. Like I literally have this conversation with myself. So before I get into an argument with somebody, how important is this to me, right? So and I'll scale it down. If it's a 9 and higher, or even an 8 and higher, then I feel like I need to say something because if not, I apologize. I feel like I need to say something because if not, I'm gonna bury the emotion and it's gonna build up later on. But if it's not that important, it's just like a 4.
You're funny because you say before I get in an argument with somebody,
Mhm.
as opposed to like when somebody, you're already anticipating the argument. You understand?
Yes, that's
so
that is a
so
bad
when you have
habit.
that mindset, like this is gonna be an argument, as opposed to like just first analyzing this, whatever was just said, because that's in itself a mindset, right? It's in itself a mindset. You consciously saying before I got in an argument with
Correct.
somebody.
That's correct.
Because
And let me explain why it works for me that way. And you're right. That's not a good approach. But this is why it works for me, because even though I'm anticipating an argument, I'm anticipating also how I'm gonna respond, right, to this situation. So I'm looking at it. Okay, this might be a problematic situation. So how I'm gonna respond to this. First I gauge it, see how important it is to me, and then if it's like not that important, I'm like
99% of the time.
But if it is
it
that
worth an
important, right, then I'm like, okay, this may become a problematic situation. Before I get into this argument, how I'm gonna approach it and how I'm gonna use my words, right? So even though I shouldn't be anticipating an argument, I shouldn't, but it works for me because I say to myself, choose my words carefully. And then I choose my words on how I'm going to reply or respond rather than reacting. So that's why, and you're right, you're 100% right, but I think for me, that's what works well for me.
First option?
Yeah, it is the first option. Because I'm like, okay, before this gets too crazy, how I'm going to, and then I have this whole dialogue
In your head.
in my head.
We all do.
Yeah.
Anybody who's conscious does.
Yeah, I have this whole full dialogue, and then I respond. So that's why sometimes it may take me a few seconds. Like I'll hear it, and then it'll take me a few seconds before I decide to say anything. And if it's really not that serious, I just let it go. But if it is that serious, I start asking myself, okay, this could get problematic. How am I going to approach this? How I'm going to choose my words? What am I going to say? And this all happens, and then I say, okay, now I'm ready to have that conversation.
Interestingly, like when you choose your words, you have to have you 100% have to have the receptor in mind, because it's not about what you're saying.
Correct.
It's about how it's received.
Correct.
And are you going to be effective? Because you could say what you want to say the way you want to say it, but how do you say something to be effective, have the effective outcome, right? Because the way you talk to this person, that person is going to be different. So that's half of the consciousness. Like that's half of it, to get the message across, right?
People never remember what you say.
You know
how they make you feel.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
how they make you
They
feel.
always
But I
make how you
choose.
feel, right?
I take out the trigger words, like the you did this and you did. Yeah.
Did you take accountability? You say I.
I start using the I, and I
It's not you, it's me.
The other thing I use. Let's talk about this situation. This is how it made me feel, right? And once you take out the you, like you did this and this is what you do all the time, and once you take that out, the conversation becomes a little bit easier to muster from the receiving end, because you're no longer attacking that person, right? You're not attacking, but you're having an argument about the situation rather than the person.
Or you could also be effective by asking questions.
That's true. That's a good one.
Asking questions from
That's
their
a good
intent.
one.
What was your intent?
Yeah.
Or what made you say it that way, or what where are you coming from?
Yeah, always start a place to figure out where they're coming from.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because then when you ask that question, you can always turn around and say, because this is how I took it. Where were you trying to go with this?
Because they asked you.
Yeah.
Because they didn't. I'm just kidding.
But it's good.
Real.
And all these things come back full circle of like how you want to be, and how you want to, like, if you could see yourself being better, you can get better.
Or if you look at that as what am I going to get out of this? Like, what am I learning out of this situation?
Right.
Anything? Because every decision you make, everything you say to anybody, you have to think about what are you going to get out of this, like, for you, right?
And the other thing we have to be mindful of, everybody's human. Like no one's perfect. Like,
shout out to Simone Biles.
Yeah. we're gonna make mistakes, and we have to own up to the fact. Because there's times I've been wrong, and I'm like, and then I assess the situation too. I'm like, am I wrong in here?
Or we got to speak up for ourselves before we do something wrong.
Correct. Yeah. And then once that happens, and then you have to admit to yourself, listen, I made this mistake. I'm human. I messed up, but I'm human, and it's gonna happen. That the problem is once that person forgive you. Now, can you forgive yourself? Because now the guilt starts running.
Well, I think it's also too like, well, what if we didn't apologize? What if we didn't apologize? Doesn't mean we just said, this is me, this is who I am. But we said, well, the reason why I did it is. So we didn't come from a place of I'm sorry.
Right.
We came from a place of, let me tell you why I honestly got triggered by what triggered me. Let me tell you how I think of that.
You're coming more from the thought process.
Well, but that's where change comes from. Change doesn't come from forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Change comes from self-assessment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, what somebody thinks is wrong, another person might not think is wrong.
Right.
That's true.
So there's absolute wrong.
That's true.
There's absolute right. There are definitely things that exist that are absolutely right and absolutely wrong.
That's true.
There's also things that some people think is wrong, and that's a huge gray area, like where you think some people think is wrong, some people think is right, and if you don't agree on that,
then you say that's who you are, and I accept you for who you are, and now I make a choice.
That's how they think,
Right? And do I stay around with them or not?
And if they want to accept how that's how you think,
they make that decision too. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. What would the world look like if we all just talk to each other from a place of conscious choice? Conscious choice, not preconceived notion,
or can respect that we think something differently.
Yeah.
Is okay.
I like arguments where it's.
You like arguing?
I do.
He likes arguing.
Debatable. I like it because it makes me see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
A debate and argument is different.
You like opposing thought.
Yeah, I do like opposing thought, but sometimes
thought.
Those opposing thoughts come out of our argument. Like when somebody's heated sometimes because they're passionate about that subject. And they passionate and they want to get their point across. And at that point, they really gonna let you know exactly. This is what A, B, and C and D, and that's it. Right. That's when you get the real meaning or the real thing behind it. So that I value that because that it makes me look at it from a different angle.
Yeah, and you can learn.
But then you got to look at it that way. You got to look at it from a position of, okay, this person's passionate about this. Are they right? Yeah. Right? Because sometimes when somebody come across nonchalant and you're like,
well, it's just also just their view, I think.
Is their view?
It's not right.
Yeah,
they're persuading you to think the same as them.
Yeah, but
that doesn't mean it's right.
It doesn't mean it's right, but it makes you look at it from a different angle.
No, which is true.
That's the point I want to look at. Yeah. I want to look at, is this holistic? Do I have blinders on when it comes to this?
And often we do.
And we do. Sometimes those disagreements,
bring it apart.
You bring it apart, and you get to see, like, okay, I had these blinders on for too long now. I need to remove them because that doesn't mean they're right, but you see a point of view that you didn't see before, and now you could incorporate that in your next decision making. But it comes from that debatable, passionate argument, and you're like, okay, I see your, but you got to be mature to have that. You got to be like, okay, I see your point. All right, I get it. Yeah.
And speaking of what's not debatable is me getting home for bedtime.
Oh, okay.
So
it's been great, guys.
I didn't want to just cut it right there, but I made a promise. I made a promise.
You have to commit. I gotta commit.
Yeah, I gotta commit.
Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you coming.
We could have talked till
we could have kept going, man. We could have kept going.
We could have talked till Thursday.
I would have loved it too. Like I live for this. Like this. Yeah. I mean the dynamics.
He's our ideal guest, man. This guy.
Yeah, it is, man.
I'd love to come back if you had me.
Oh, absolutely.
You co-host.
We just.
And I can't make it.
Yeah, because it's always good to see fresh angles and different perspectives, and sometimes I challenge intentionally because I want to know the other side. So sometimes when you challenge somebody intentionally, you get to see because sometimes you want to know. Like I really want to know, and so that's why having people that's open-minded and not willing to. Shelter, but willing to share. Yeah. Because sometimes people keep it to themselves and just let it go. Yeah. But the fact that you were open to share and you said, no, we're going to call it for what it is, that gave me an opportunity to learn and then we got an opportunity to share stories. But thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank
Thank you
you
guys
so
for having me.
much,
Really
and-
appreciate it.
We didn't even cover everything I wanted to cover. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
man, we didn't talk about the Google. We didn't talk
Talk
about
about Stratum.
yeah, it's so much. We got to get you back, man.
Yeah,
Done.
part
I
two.
mean,
We
that's,
need-
that's gonna be a whole other segment.
Yeah, and this time none of this emotional stuff. Nah, I'm
Yeah,
just joking.
listen, both are important. We just chose
Both are
this one to
important.
go there.
Both are
Next one we'll
important.
go to the biz, more
Yeah.
biz.
No, it's good to understand, like
Yeah.
everyone's how they think,
Mm-hmm.
because it's things that you do, but why do you do it this way?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's how you think.
Right.
So let's not take up any more of your time. We
Yeah.
do know
Thank you.
there's some bedtime stories.
For
Yeah.
sure. Oh yeah.
Need
All
to
right,
be
guys.
read.
Some affirmations.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, just good night, and just appreciate you guys for just subscribing, listening, and all the good stuff. Hit the like button if you enjoy this content, and comment, please. We would love to hear your thoughts on all the topics we addressed today.
And
Yes.
always
All right,
remember to
guys.
think
Goodbye.
differently.
Think
Don't
differently.
And
sad.
share the link with your friends.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you so much for having me. I really
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.